Hey guys, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa Ellen and I do these true crime videos. So make sure you hit subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff if you're interested in following on our journey of helping bring awareness onto missing persons, unsolved cases, and things along those lines. Today, we're going to be talking about Hailey Dunn, but I just have like a quick little announcement. So number one, I apologize I wasn't here last week. We had a new grandson. I have a community tab and Instagram, so you can check those at all times if you're wondering when I disappear for a week. I do intend to upload videos every Thursday. I've been on a little bit of a schedule and it seems to be working out well. Also, my light is out, so I'm sitting in front of a window. I'm gonna get a light eventually, but the only reason I mention that is because I noticed that I can't stop looking out the window. The kids are out there, there's people going by, like it's just my, yeah, sorry. So just roll with me. I look crazy and I probably am, but that's okay. So those are my announcements for you guys. Hailey Dunn was a 13-year-old girl who went missing in 2010. The thing is that everyone thought that as soon as her remains were found, that this case would be solved and that an arrest would be made. But her body was found 2 years after she went missing and there's been no arrest. And what's weird is if you're just online looking at news articles and trying to get information about this case, you would think it's like it just stopped. It gets stopped in time as if nothing. But I did do a lot more research and I found some Facebook groups and I found that there is still a lot of push and there's still the same exact theory of who did it and why hasn't he been arrested. Trigger warnings for anyone who likes to be told in advance. I don't go into detail and I don't put up images, so it's not like it's gonna get like weird or anything.
There will be a reference to pornography that does include children and animals. That's as far as we go in that. And then there will be a reference that a small story including animal torture that does happen towards the end. So just an FYI for a trigger warning.
So let's jump right into today's video. Okay, so Hailey Dunn was 13 at the time she disappeared. She was born Hailey Darlene Dunn on August 28th of 1997. She went missing 2 days after Christmas on December 27th of 2010, and her remains were found in March of 2013. Hailey was described, even in the affidavit from the police, and by everyone that knew her, as a bright, loving, outgoing little girl. She got great grades in school. She was a cheerleader. She also did all of the school sports. So she did basketball, she did volleyball, and she also did track. Very involved, and she loved her family. Now, she was born in Colorado City, Texas, which is where her disappearance took place in. And Colorado City is about 75 miles north of San Angelo. I'm going to put up a map in a little while of all the cities, and you'll get a little clearer picture where it is. But we're talking a small, look like it's kind of rural-ish town. Now, her mother is Billie Dunn, and only for the sake of when I put up a picture of her, she looks really, really young. She was actually born in 1977, so at the time she was actually in her 30s. She was married to Clint Dunn, and from what Clint said, he mentioned that he had known her for over 20 years. They were together like 14 years. A little not clear on the time, but they were married for quite a while, and they had 2 children. They had their older son, which is David, who was 15 at the time, and then Hailey, who was 13. Now, sometime prior to her disappearance, Hailey's parents, Billie and Clint, had actually separated. It appears that Billie stayed in the family home with the children and that Clint had moved out of the house. It also appears at the time that Billie Jean started dating another man by the name of Shawn Adkins. She actually ended up moving in that boyfriend, Shawn Adkins. Now, Shawn Adkins was born in 1985. It was mentioned about their ages. So he was about 7 years younger than Billie. I'm not sure how long they had been dating prior, but apparently maybe like 2009, 2010, Billie and Shawn end up breaking up after they've been dating for a while. And in February of 2010, they end up having it's explained as a domestic violence issue. I'm going to add in part of the 911 calls for you guys right now to kind of give you an idea.
Colorado City Police Department, Martha speaking. Can I help you? Hello, my name is Billie. I'm at work at Snyder, and I'm calling because my boyfriend and I just broke up yesterday. But he's saying he's going to go into my house to get his T-shirt, and I don't want him in there while I'm gone because I don't know what he'll take. Okay. And I just don't trust him enough to go in there. Is there any way anybody can keep an eye over there?
Colorado City Police Department, Jeremy speaking.
Jeremy, I really need to file a report on somebody, and I don't have a car to get down there.
What is your name?
Hailey Dunn.
What exactly happened?
I broke up with this guy a couple of days ago, and he's a little MHMR. and he's telling me that he's going to kill me and my ex-husband, and that it's going to be remembered for a long time. He keeps on texting me, and I've texted back just to try to calm him down a little, but he said it's going to happen.
Yes, is there any way I can speak to Officer Burleson?
No, he'll be here Tuesday.
Okay, well, I got a situation on my hands. I have an ex-girlfriend, and she's taking a whole bunch of Clonopin. It's like a society pill that I take. So I guess she got them from me, and she says she took a bunch of her pain pills too. And she's saying that she wants to die if she don't care about life and all this bull crap. So I don't know what to do.
Okay, who are you?
Yeah, I'm her ex-boyfriend.
What is your name?
Shawn Adkins.
Okay, and what is her name?
Billie Dunn. We had a big blow up today, and one of the officers had to get involved in it.
In Big Spring?
Oh, no, over the telephone. And so she filed a report on me, for threats and stuff like that, which were between her brother, and myself. And now, I don't know, she's just upset about it, and she's just, not being herself right now. I'm just really worried about it.
Okay. Well, while I got you on the phone, Shawn, is your date of birth 6/30/85?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know you got a warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, let me get the officers over there and have them talk to Miss Dunn and see what's going on, okay?
Colorado City Police Department, Jeremy speaking.
Jeremy, this is Officer Wynn over at Snyder. I've got a Billie Dunn that's living over there at 1806 Chestnut. We got a call over here from her boyfriend saying that she's possibly suicidal, starting to take a bunch of pills, things like that. She came over to the house that she was supposed to stay at, which is her mom's. Her mom is saying she's over at her address there in Sea City.
Okay, we've been having a big problem with those two all day.
Okay.
And I'll let you in on the loop about this. She recently, I don't know if it's divorced or broke up. I thought they were married. So she recently divorced him.
Okay.
And earlier I had an officer go out to her location while I was on duty because she called in saying that he was threatening to physically harm her and or kill her.
Mm-hmm.
So the officer went out to that situation, took all the information from that call, and earlier before that, we received a call from her saying she's been the complainant here, but because he's over in another area, she's complaining to other police departments.
Okay.
So you're saying that we need a welfare check on her because she's suicidal?
That's from what we understand. So.
And I'll give this information to my officer.
But by the time it gets to the officer, he's smirky about it. And number one, I do realize that officers do deal with some people out of the public that are nuisances, okay? I get it. I know that they deal with people who are nuisances and try to use the police in their game. I get it. And so maybe that's the situation they know more than I know. But what I get from that is that he's not taking the situation very seriously. And considering that I don't feel like they took Hailey's disappearance very seriously, it just makes me wonder why. What was the backstory on Billie Dunn's home? What was the backstory that we don't have access to? Because I still couldn't find a lot of information.
Super important to note, I am not 1,000% sure that it's on this exact date, but not only is he threatening her life supposedly in text messages, according to her in these 911 calls, but at some point in time, he admitted that he not only threatened to kill Billie, but he also threatened to kill her daughter Hailey. So that actually happened. He actually made a threat at one point in time to harm both of them.
So that was happening in February 2010. Now, according to Billie and Shawn, Billie totally took him back. He said he would never act like that it was out of character, everything would be fine. And she actually moved him into their home. So now living in this home at 1804 Chestnut in Colorado City, Texas, is Billie Jean, her boyfriend Shawn Adkins, and her two children, 15-year-old David and 13-year-old Hailey. And according to them, everything's been fine. They're living a good life and they're functioning just fine, according to them. So now we're going to get into the timeline that happened in December when Hailey goes missing. It does look like Hailey and her brother David spent Christmas Day with their mother Billie, and then they might have gone to their father Clint's. Let me give you a little bit of understanding of where they live, okay? Billie lived at the house that they lived on Chestnut, and Clint actually lived across the street. It's described as right across the street, but by looking at the map, It does appear that it's more like across the field, which is another way that it was described. And also in later reports, he explains that he can see their front door from his back door with binoculars. Just giving my explanation of why I do not think it's the house right across the street. It's a little further back. So from what it appears, they spent Christmas with their mother. They went over to their dad's that house at night. And then the next morning on December 26th, they returned home. According to Clint, the last time he saw his daughter Hailey was on the morning of December 26th. So now we're on December 26th. According to Billie, her and Shawn and Hailey David just spent the day at home. Casual, lazy, kickback day. They didn't do anything really amazing. They just hung out that day. Later that night, however, David, the 15-year-old, left the house and went to spend the night with his friend. He left at about 9 p.m., and that was the last time he saw Hailey himself. According to him, Hailey was actually in his room on his gaming system and was playing a game. According to him, based on maybe what he knows or timing or whatever, he assumes that she played the game until about midnight when she went to bed. According to Billie, she saw her playing the game, and then she saw her watching TV. And then they all went to bed. On the morning of the 27th, this is the day that Hailey goes missing. In the morning, Billie says her alarm goes off at about 5:40 in the morning. At that time, she notices that Shawn is already awake and he's getting ready to leave for work. Shawn leaves for work, and she gets up and gets ready. And at about 6:20, she's gotten ready for work. Her ride's not there, so she goes ahead and gives the ride a call to ask, like, hey, are you on your way? And then she said at that time she made the decision to go in and check on Hailey to make sure she was in bed. If you follow this case at all, then you probably caught on to some of the weird comments that Billie was making in interviews. When she was asked about her daughter, she said that she went in to peek on her and that she did not touch her, which is just a really odd phrase. Like, why did you mention you didn't touch her? Like, the way it sounded, if you followed the case, you would be like, that was weird. But I apparently, and I'm not to justify anything, but that question was asked a lot because a lot of people wanted to know, like, did you touch her? Did you go in? Because she said that she peeked into the room. Their room was dark, but she thinks she saw her in her bed, and it was enough to make her feel comfortable, like, okay, yeah, she's in bed. I can go to work. Now, you're wondering who's in the house then if she's going to work. Just Hailey. They had made the determination that that's what they did. They would leave the 13-year-old at home by herself, or her 15-year-old brother David would normally be there. They were comfortable with this, again, because Dad lives right across the way. So the assumption was that Hailey would have got up in the morning, got ready, and just went over to her father's house. Now, according to Billie, the day progressed on as normal, and that she went to work a 12-hour shift. She went in at 7 a.m. and she was expected to work till 7 p.m. She ended up getting off work around 6 p.m. She said that it was because they had a staff meeting and the coworker that covers her shift was already there. So she was like, hey, go ahead and leave early. I will go ahead and cover you. She said that she then contacted Shawn around 5:30 and he came and picked her up at 6 p.m. The two of them then went to an ATM to get cash. Now, to be very clear, this is in clear documentation, not a rumor. They withdrew cash from the ATM at 6:19 and 6:20. They withdrew $60 and $80. And self-admitted by Billie, they withdrew that cash so that they could buy drugs for themselves. According to Billie, they then proceeded home to have a chill night and just relax and go to bed. I think we can all, in my opinion, you went and got drugs and then you went home. And not only did they just chill for that night, but at no point in time did she check on her daughter because her daughter's not home. She's not there. When she gets home from work, her daughter's not there. This is the 27th, and her daughter's not there. According to Shawn, she went to a friend's house. So let me give you Shawn's take on the December 27th. Shawn's story changed a couple of times. Originally, he said that he got fired from work that day. Then it was found out that he did not get fired. He was a great employee. They loved him. He had quit. Tried to say he had an altercation with someone, but it came out no. So let me give you his real day of what happened. Shawn went to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. He arrived at his work at 6 o'clock in the morning. He then goes into the break room, I believe, at 6:05 a.m. He gets a Dr. Pepper out of the vending machine. His supervisor walks into the room. They make eye contact, and Shawn leaves. That was it. That was the firing, quitting, altercation. That was it. He just left. I did see an absolute rumor online, I couldn't confirm it anywhere, that he may have even left his car running. Like, he was quitting. Now, Billie did say in later interviews that he wanted to quit the shop. He wanted to quit. I don't know what his reason was, but he wanted to quit, and he knew that Billie was not going to be okay with him just quitting his job, and so he lied about quitting, trying to say he got fired so that he could get away with it. So from there, originally Shawn told police that he went to his mother's house, which is in Big Springs, Texas. From the map, I think it's about 80 miles from Snyder, Texas, which is where his work is. I might be a little off. I'll put it up for you guys. So he leaves his work in Snyder, Texas, and he says he goes to his mother's house to get on her computer for unemployment and things like that. Cell phone pings later prove, no, you went to California City, which is where the home of Billie and David and Hailey is. Like, you went to the house that you've been living at. Let me give you the time frame of his cell phone pings. So he leaves the work in Snyder at about 6:10. It shows him pinging in Colorado City, Texas from 6:35 a.m. to 6:57 a.m. Totally times up with him leaving work and then driving to the house. He's in that town though for 20 to 30 minutes. According to him, he went by the house, nobody was home, and he left. Now, his phone does not start pinging again in Big Springs, which is where his mother lives, 20 miles away from their house in Colorado City, Texas. In Big Spring, it does not start pinging there until 9:48 a.m. So from what I'm seeing, there is a clear nothing on his phone from 7 a.m. to about 9:45 a.m. There's a 2-hour and 45-minute blank. He does have to travel, so there's like 2 hours unaccounted for. I'm only going to say this now because I'm open. There is a Facebook group. There's actually two. There's a Facebook group that is very much, Clint Dunn, the father of Hailey, is a part of that group. And they are very much pushing to have Shawn arrested for this murder. He is the only named suspect, okay? I mean, he is. He's been named a person of interest. Now, there is another Facebook group that is very clearly on the other side. I tried to do a little digging so that I could give you guys information, and I just couldn't find it. They feel that they have proven that Shawn is not possibly, based on these cell phone records. And I couldn't find the proof. I believe they're saying that Shawn was at his mother's by 8 a.m., which means there wouldn't have been enough time between 7 and 8 for him. Okay, there's just not a lot of time. So I think that's what they're saying, but I couldn't find proof that it was at his mother's at 8 a.m. So if somebody has that, would you send it to me and I'll put like a pinned comment, whatever I need to do to put that in there to cover myself on that. But I just couldn't find it. Okay, so what I'm looking at is and this is what police are saying, this is what every news report is saying, this is what the affidavit says, is that his phone has no activity from 7 a.m. to about 9:45 a.m. And that's curious to them because it doesn't pick up until he arrives in Big Springs. So I'm still a little confused, and it doesn't look like that has ever been cleared up, which is why I believe he was named the only person of interest in the disappearance of Hailey Dunn. So finishing his day, he says that he's at his mother's from about 9:45 until about 2:45, and the cell phone pings support that. I think it's 9:48 to 2:48. And so it shows that he's there, and then he leaves his mother's house around 2:45 and heads back to his house. He says he arrives at his house at around 3 p.m., which totally seems to line up with his cell phone location. They're able to verify that. And he arrives at the house, and Hailey is there. There is a lot of questions. People are wondering, timing-wise, when Hailey could have disappeared. There were sightings of Hailey that day. I believe the only one that I saw confirmed or given to like the public was that a neighbor saw her in the backyard on her phone texting. There's a lot of questions about that specific ID. I think this happens a lot in cases where you have witnesses. It's very, very hard to know whether or not they're right. People mess up, people make mistakes, say the date, the time, the everything. So it's possible. So a lot of people aren't really sure if they want to take that accounting. So he says that when he arrives home at 3 p.m. that he goes in, and then about 15 minutes later, Hailey comes into him and is like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go to my dad's house, and then I'm going to go stay the night with my friend Mary Beth, and I'll be back in the morning. He says, okay, and she takes off out the door. Now, at 4 p.m., David, the brother who had went to stay the night with a friend, comes home. Now, when he comes home, he's knocking on the front door. He doesn't have a key, he doesn't have something. He's knocking. Somebody let me in. And he can't get in for after several minutes. Eventually, there's a glass that had been broken with a ball or something. And so he sticks his hand through and he's able to unlatch the door and he's able to get in. When he gets into the house, he said that he sees Shawn coming out of the master bedroom and that they make eye contact in the hallway. And he said that Shawn was like a deer in the headlights looking straight at him. What are you doing here? Since then, they've just kind of said that it was just he was in the room watching TV. And then, according to Shawn, he gets a call from Billie around 5:30 asking if he would be able to pick her up early. He says yes. He drives out there, picks her up at around 6 p.m. They go to the ATM, they purchase drugs, and then they come home. According to him, he had told Billie that, Hailey went to stay the night with a friend, and they just left it at that. So we're clear. Billie never checked on her daughter. She did not call her dad to see if she had come by. She did not send a text message to Mary Beth or Mary Beth's mother. Nothing. Just flat out did not check on her at all. This little girl had just turned 13, 4 months prior. So according to them, they just had a normal, casual evening. They said David, and I believe David's friend was even over, and just hung out, had dinner, went to bed. Nothing. There was nothing going on in their home that night. It breaks my heart to think that this little girl had already been harmed and nobody was checking on her. So now it's the morning of December 28th. Shawn's not working, so he's going to drive Billie to work. Apparently, he had often drove her to work, but on the days that he had to go in a little early, like the day prior, then she would get a ride. But this day, he can take her to work. So he takes her to work at 6 a.m., and she just goes to work, and he goes to his grandmother's house. Now, at around noon, Billie had left her cell phone at the house. I don't know if she left it specifically or on purpose or by accident. Whatever the reason was, her phone is at the house. She calls home and talks to David, her son. She tells David, hey, I have a feeling the phone was left for him because they didn't have a home phone. The father across the way didn't have a home phone. There was lack of communication going on. So he has the phone. So Billie tells David, hey, text your sister's friend and tell her that it's time for your sister to come home. So David went ahead and sends a text to Mary Beth, and Mary Beth says, she's not here. She didn't spend the night here, and I didn't even see her last night. She's not here. I don't know where she's at. David then calls back to his mother and is like, Hailey's not at Mary Beth's. And she's like, okay, go across the way to your dad and find out if she's over there. Okay. So David then, jogs on over to his dad's house and is like, hey, is Hailey here? And that's when they realize that no, Hailey's not there. Hailey didn't come by yesterday. Now, Clint is her father, and he lives across the way, not right across the street, across the field. He that day had been completely not going anywhere. He had some back spasms, some issues. He was laid out, and his mother and girlfriend or other people had been coming by and taking care of them. So he had been home all day. He had not seen her. Nobody saw her. The grandmother said she had come by that day on the 27th, and she didn't see her outside. She didn't see her at the house. She didn't see her anywhere that day. So at this point, they realized nobody's seen Hailey in an entire day and a half. Nobody knows where she is, other than Shawn said he saw her at 3 p.m. and she left to go to her dad's house and go to a friend's house. They have no idea where she is. At this time, there's a lot of confusion. Clint goes looking. David's got the phone. Billie leaves work, goes to the police department, and ends up filing her as a missing person. Now, originally, they treated Hailey's case as a runaway, as they often do. I didn't understand that because they didn't, the night before, she was playing on the Xbox, but, there wasn't any activity with any friends. She wasn't talking to anyone. I don't think she had a cell phone. I know there was an iPad that had been purchased for her, but she didn't even have it with her. So I am not at all sure how they ever thought she was a runaway. Her contact solution, she had money in her room, the brand new iPad, her favorite jacket, all of these things were in her bedroom. It didn't make any sense that she would be a runaway. Pretty quickly, they did determine that they deemed her as a missing person and that they were concerned. Initially, by the way, when they did do searches with the dogs, they weren't able to track her scent very far. It was halfway to her dad's house, halfway to a motel or something, but it didn't go anywhere. It stopped. So they were not able to track her scent anywhere. When police started to investigate, once they deemed that she was a missing person, that's when they started putting all the stories together. So there were quite a few things that came up, and I don't know that I have them exactly in dated order. I'm going to give them all to you. Just so we're clear, by January 12th of 2011, Shawn Adkins was named the #1 suspect in the disappearance of Hailey Dunn. And I think it was about January 20th that they released it. They didn't think she was alive. It didn't make sense anymore. She had been gone too long. Things of hers were at home. It didn't make sense to them, and they felt that she had been harmed and that she wasn't going to be found alive. The first thing police did was they verified his work story. Okay, you lied about where you were, what was going on. Then they started looking at his cell phone records. Now we got another problem because you're not where you say you are and your cell phone's pinging in different locations and you're not giving us answers. One of the things that hit the news that made a big thing, so I'm a little out of order, was actually a couple days after Hailey disappeared, would be New Year's, so January 31st of 2010. It was reported initially that Billie and Shawn threw a party at their house. It was later kind of verified, confirmed that it wasn't a party, but it's still up for debate whether or not they had people over hanging out enjoying alcohol on New Year's a couple of days after her daughter disappeared. They just left people feeling very uncomfortable. Billie says no, it was just people coming over to support her, and it just happened to be New Year's. Clint gave one interview that said that he actually, and it was actually a full interview, and he said, I spent New Year's watching through my binoculars, watching their front door, watching people walk in with alcohol. That leaves them up for discrepancy, but it made people start to have some questions. Then they took polygraphs. Now, Shawn actually volunteered to do a lie detector test, and he came in on 3 occasions. The first 2 times he got there and then said, never mind, I'm not going to do it. The third time he actually did the polygraph. So the polygraph is actually done in 3 stages. So stage 1 is where they're going to ask the questions, and he did exhibit that there was some deception found in stage 1. So stage 2 is where they're going to ask clarifying questions. I'm going to state this the way that I heard it because I can't find an exact quote. But apparently he was asked the question, so where do you think we will find Hailey? And Shawn responded by telling them that he thought she'd be found in Scurry County. It was interesting because she disappeared in Mitchell County. Now her remains were ultimately found in Scurry County. So that was kind of odd. Like, why would you say Scurry County? And then secondly, he was asked the question, who should we be looking at? And he said, us, me and Billie. Again, such an odd thing, but I was wondering, like, yeah, look at me really quick because she lives here. And then Clara's, it left people feeling very uncomfortable based on the fact that she was actually found there and he is the number 1 named suspect because he was the last person to see her. The third stage, he refused to go any further with the polygraph and terminated it at that time. Now, Billie was very upset when she found this information out and wanted to know, what did you do with my daughter? But then Billie did a polygraph. So we're clear, I am well aware that polygraphs are an issue. We love them, we hate them. I don't know sometimes. Like, I want to always believe in them, but then it's been proven that you can't always, especially when you have people who are constantly taking medication or engaging in any sort of drug activity. They are a little less likely to be able to handle a polygraph. So, yeah, here's what happens. So Billie takes her polygraph, and it makes me, I don't know where to go because I have my feelings. So Billie takes hers, and the first time she arrives, she can't take it because they deem her to be under the influence of something. They don't tell us what she was under the influence of, but she could not take the test. The second time she goes in to take the test, it does find that she had a level of deception on the specific questions of whether or not she had participation in the disappearance of her daughter, Hailey. She refused to clarify it and walked out. According to her, she felt that she trusted the polygraph when he didn't pass, but when she didn't pass, she no longer trusted anything, I guess the police said. Like, this made her back this man for an entire year, so we're clear. She stayed by him. She ends up getting arrested. Like, we'll talk about this in a second, but, like, she wouldn't, like, she just kept believing in him because she's like, well, I don't know. Well, when I called my Polly, then I don't know. In March of 2011, police are issuing search warrants. They issue search warrants for houses, property, all these things. One of the search warrants they issued was for the body of Shawn Adkins. They wanted to take photos of him, check him, look at him, okay? Whatever they wanted to do. And so they show up at the home of Billie, and they knock on the door. Billie looks at Shawn. She's like, are you going to go talk to them? And he says, no, I don't want to. So then Billie goes to the door, opens the door, and police ask Billie if Shawn is there, and she said no. And they're like, okay, well, can we come in? And she's like, yeah, sure. She said that it was just a bad decision and that she didn't quite understand that they had an actual warrant to check him. It wasn't an arrest warrant, which her lawyer made a big deal about. But I have a feeling she thought he was going to go hide. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. It was a dumb decision. So as a result of that, she is arrested for hindering an investigation, interfering with prosecution. I'm not really sure what all of it was. They also found that she had a prescription in her home that she did not have a prescription for. They just called her booty down there because they wanted to talk to her. Like, you tell us what is going on. This man is lying about stuff. Like, things aren't making sense. Your daughter's missing. But apparently that wasn't enough. She did attain an attorney at this time, so she stopped really talking to the police. And on top of that, she did get a trespassing order against Shawn so that he could not come back to her house. Basically, her lawyer was like, dude, you need to kick rocks away from him and make sure you're protected. But she went on TV with the national news and told them that she was still talking to him, that she was still talking to him at night, that he was calling, that she's like, well, if I don't answer his call, he'll just show up, and I just talk to him, and, you know, we're still friendly. It made everyone feel uncomfortable, especially as information that came out from the search warrants came out. So back up to the February search warrants, okay? This is why police are not understanding why are you helping this guy? They did a search on her home, and inside of her master bedroom that Shawn's been living in as well, they find a USB drive. And on this USB stick, there is over 300 images. I am going to put up the call from the officer at the sheriff's department because I don't want to be misquoted on this.
These documents just released give somewhat of an explanation of what investigators found back in early January at the beginning of their investigation into Hailey's disappearance. Now, I just spoke to the sheriff of Mitchell County, and he told me a little more than what these documents say. These search warrant affidavits say Colorado City Police seized a computer and a memory stick as part of their investigation. The memory stick was seized from the master bedroom in Hailey's mom's house. The affidavit says it contained 320 pornographic images and videos. Another court document says more than 108,000 images were found on a computer at Shawn Adkins' mother's house in Big Spring. Shawn is Hailey Dunn's mother's boyfriend. Those pictures depicted, quote, deviant acts. The Mitchell County Sheriff tells me those images included child pornography and bestiality.
Is under the criminal deviant photographs or pornography. It's not just pornography. You've got both child pornography and bestiality on there, which that's criminal offense.
All of the news says, and this interview says, that these images contained vile acts, that they were sexual pornography images that included in the range of bestiality to child porn. On top of that, when they went to his mother's home, they found a computer that he was using that had over 100,000 images. Just want you guys to think for a second. 100,000 images is a lot. That's a lot. Like, you gotta have a really big computer to hold all of that. But 100,000 images. Go to your camera roll. Like, that's a lot. And it was vile, deviant porn. Y'all can do whatever you want. Like, I'm open to everything, and I whatever. I don't care about anything. Like, I'm not a prude in any way. But we're not talking explicit. We're talking vile. The wrong kind. And I was kind of curious. Okay, so maybe it's more of like that BDSM world. You know, like when 50 Shades of Grey came out and everyone thought like, oh, BDSM is cute. And then people started putting out research and they're like, yeah, it's not that cute. Do y'all know what you're talking about? Like, that's not what they're talking about. Like, gross, mean, vile, hurtful. Why do I end up in these conversations with you guys? It's so weird. I hope you also know what I'm talking about. Okay? So, there was concern about how far Billie was involved, aware, encouraging, participating in this sort of a lifestyle. And I don't know the answers for you. What I do know is that Shawn has enough out about him, videos that are on YouTube of him doing drugs and wearing a mask with a knife and just acting. I don't have a judgment, and I don't want to judge anyone, but participating in a lifestyle that might make people go, might be a little worried that it might not be the best suitable person to have around your 12, 13-year-old little girl. That's all I'm saying. The problems I have are on the things that were specifically mentioned that I am still confused about because these are chargeable offenses. Okay? Cruelty to animals, any sort of way, is absolutely illegal, and to capture it for any sort of pornographic reason is illegal, and I thought you go to prison for that. The same with child pornography. Like, I didn't think there was a leeway or any way. Like, if you got images stored on devices like a USB or a computer, like, you're sharing this. There's also so much mention about the printer in the house and the different devices and different cameras. Like, It goes on and on about the potential devices that could have been loaded with this imagery, as well as even the children's Xbox contained pornographic images. Now, that being said, the Facebook group says that Shawn Adkins is innocent, and he hasn't been arrested for that, okay? In 2011, like, this was released. You just heard from him, and he said that they had these images and that they found them in 2011, and he was never arrested for this. So they say it's because there was no actual child or animal harming in these imageries. I don't know the answer. I just know that it made me go back and find this interview where that officer said there was child porn in there. The question is, why was he never arrested for that? Just for that alone. Why was he never even arrested for it? I don't have the answer for you. Another thing that was mentioned in the affidavit that just made people feel so uncomfortable. One of Billie's brothers was having a conversation with Shawn. And they're just having a conversation, and the brother makes the comment, maybe just like in sadness or whatever he was feeling. It was just a comment he made. And he said, I just don't know how anyone could kill a 13-year-old little girl. And according to the brother, Shawn responds back to him, yeah, it's like killing a baby deer. Who would do that? According to the brother, Shawn on many occasions had told people how he liked to kill baby deer and then cut them up with chainsaws. That's not a hunting practice. Just in case anyone was confused, you don't kill baby deer and you don't use chainsaw. Just in case you guys didn't know that. That is those deviant acts that we were talking about. That's my opinion. So according to the brother and other people, this was something he had said. Now, Shawn was interviewed about this on news, and he absolutely said, nope, didn't happen, never said that, never had that conversation. I love animals. I don't kill animals. Absolutely didn't happen. But according to Shawn, none of the affidavit was correct. There was also in the affidavit an officer said specifically that during one of the interviews, he's talking to Shawn, and he asked Shawn to see his phone because he wanted to see something on his call log. Shawn hands over his phone. He looks at it. He sees the call log. Okay, cool. They continue on with their conversation, and then the officer's like, oh, let me see your phone again. And he said he literally watched Shawn erase something from his phone, however you erased it, and then hand it to the officer. And the officer's like, the call log is gone. Where did it go? And Shawn's like, I don't know. It just makes you, a lot of these things that he did were just a lot of covering and lying and making officers dig for information. And there's a missing little girl. And I just feel like this whole story, that gets lost. Like, she was missing. And everything is about all of this other stuff that was going on, and they can't get answers. And her mother is just living with the guy, like getting along with him, having phone conversations with him. Unfortunately, I think that her mother, it's so weird because she appeared to be, like, she had a good job, she was in the hospital, she had a side job, she always worked, she was taking care of her kids. Clint said that when he was married to her, she was a great mother and a great woman, and he didn't see any of this coming, that he couldn't possibly see her being involved in any sort of this pornography business or any of it. Like, he just didn't see that from her because she was a really good person, but something obviously drastically changed. And the only thing I can say from the interviews, in my personal opinion, her absolute focus on Shawn was weird to me. Why are you taking his calls? Other than to call him and question him. Like, I don't understand. Everyone around you is telling you, this guy probably killed your daughter. And she's just continuing along with him. But that's just my opinion on what I think happened. I did see a post written on behalf of Clint in a Facebook group, and it says they want Billie to see it, so I assume they want it to be shared out of this private group. And it basically, Clint is pleading with Billie, like, hey, you are a good person. I believe in you. You're better than this. I will stand by your side. I don't know what you did. I don't know how involved you are, but I need you to come forward and say what happened. Like, who did this to our daughter? How did it happen? And everything, because he truly believes she knows. And he's very clear that he would stand by her if she would just come correct. Like, whatever went wrong in your life, that this happened, like, it happened. You know, you made a mistake. You messed up. Fix it. But as far as I know, nothing has come from that. I absolutely do not know what Billie's stance is anymore. I know that in 2012, by the end of 2012, She had felt that there was enough inconsistencies in what Shawn was saying that she just didn't really want to back him anymore. But she never like said, yeah, he killed my daughter and I want him prosecuted. I could not ever find that anywhere. It's like she just kind of got quiet from what I see. Now, Clint, her father, has continued to stay vocal. He has continued to do interviews. He has continued to do media. And the Facebook group, one of them, is dedicated to helping him press forward with what he feels is absolutely what happened. And he feels that Shawn Adkins is 100% responsible for what happened to his daughter. And he is pressing forward to get him arrested. Outside of that, these Facebook groups, it looks like the case is just absolutely quiet. Like it doesn't really exist anymore. But within these Facebook groups, it looks like it is just going crazy right now. And an arrest is imminent. But that's kind of what I thought a year ago too. When this case was first sent to me, I thought, oh, an arrest is going to happen. I'm going to wait. And I wonder if that's what everyone else is thinking because there's not a lot of coverage on this case. And it's a wild one. The amount of stuff I did not include for you guys. Oh, let me include this one before I tell you about her remains being found. One of the things that was found, I'm only giggling because you, my true crime peeps, you're with me, you're going to giggle too. So when they searched the home of Billie, they found stacks of printouts of true crime and serial killer documentaries. So at first I was like, oh shit, it's in the affidavit. I'm like, oh no, one day they're going to come to my house and find everything on my computer. I'm in trouble. But that wasn't it, okay? The documents, at first, it seemed like, oh, okay, it's just a hobby. In fact, she is doing an interview with somebody, and they're like, and she makes the comment, like, yeah, I'm not the only one who's into true crime. Like, I'm not your only viewer. And I was like, yeah, true. The documentation was different, though. First of all, she was printing it on her work computer and bringing it home so that they could read it together. And some of the articles were a lot of the articles that were printed were about serial killers and couple sprees and harming girls. And there was just a lot in there. And then there were also just notorious serial killers that we've all heard of and notorious crimes that have happened. So it was really hard to tell what seemed off. There was also things about vampires, about witchcraft, about the juggalos, like all kinds of stuff. So again, it could have just been somebody who's really into true crime and really into mysterious and everything. Like we talk about weird stuff. So it could have been that. But I will tell you, it left an uneasy feeling because you have this like lifestyle of pornography that's happening. It's there. It's at that home. It's saved on files. And then you have these serial killer twisted stories. And then you have the witchcraft and the other things that came in. And it led to some really dark theories of what could have happened to Hailey. I'm going to leave you guys with that. I think you know where it went, and you guys can research that theory on your own. It makes me so uncomfortable to my core that I don't even want to talk about it. But that is a theory as well, based on these articles that they were researching and the things that they were into, and just based on trying to dig into what possibly could have happened if somebody was in a really dark side of that lifestyle. March of 2013, Hailey Dunn's remains were found. When her remains were found, they were discovered at Lake J.B. Thomas. This is about 20 miles north of her home. You'll see from the map that I have up, there's only one area, I believe, that you could park your car and be able to walk from. So it's assumed, and based on where I saw the news, that her remains were discovered somewhere in this area. They were only able to find her skull, a tooth, and a femur. These remains were scattered throughout the area. They also found her, what appears to be her blue warm-up sweats that she had been wearing on the day that she went missing. The only thing I saw is it appeared that her skull had blunt force trauma. I don't for sure know what her actual cause of death was, and I don't know if we know. The news articles just like end. They just come to an end. There's no coverage. I have no idea what happened. And then I have to go into the Facebook groups, which I don't always know for sure what is confirmed and what is public information and all of that. So it's a little confusing. It just stops. Her remains were eventually returned to her family. That was another thing, because according to the news, they were never returned, but they were. They were actually returned to her mother, Billie. They did do a private ceremony after they cremated her at a lake. The thing to know is that as a result of everything going on, Billie Jean did not include Clint in his daughter's funeral. I find that really, really hard to understand. I don't at all. I can't imagine you have a child. It does not matter what went on between you guys. both parents are there. Absolutely, you don't ever do that. So that's what I have for you guys in the case of Hailey Dunn. This one, I am kind of at I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. It's a little difficult because I will be honest with you guys, there are 2 Facebook groups that look just like each other and they're battling each other really hardcore. I don't want to be involved in any of that. My intention is just to help in any way that I can. But since I can't tell which direction to go in, I'm not sure what to recommend to you guys. So I encourage any of you that know more, if you're in the area, if you have some more information to add, put in the comments below. But if you guys think there's a way that we could help, I want to know, because this is what I'm doing this for. It's why I do this channel. But I'm finding that I don't want to do it on Facebook. I don't want to be negative to anyone. It's not that. It's just that sometimes that's really hard when you go into Facebook groups and you're not like a part of the group. You kind of feel like an outsider, like you intruded on their personal like group chat, and you just feel uncomfortable, like really afraid to ask questions, like because you get answers like, we already answered that, we already proved that, and it's like, oh, I wasn't here, I'm new and I can't find it. And then on top of that, you just, when the groups start getting really ugly at each other, you get really worried that if you say the wrong thing that you could be attacked in some way. And I'm not saying for sure it's happening in those groups, that's up for you to decide. But I'm starting to get a little leery about Facebook groups, honestly. You're kind of nervous about the information and the intent. I'll leave it at that for you guys. That's just my opinion. I kind of went on a rant about it last night. At the end of the day, the intention is to help people, and that's all I want to do. And if you're all a little entertained while we're at it, then that's what I'm here for. I hope you all are staying safe and getting through this quarantine lockdown. It's so insane to know that across the world, we are all in completely different circumstances. I figured I'd tell you guys what it's like in my county. And I have barely left my house. I've made that choice to almost completely isolate at home. We have very few family members that we've been in contact with, and that's it. Like, we're just being very careful because I'm caring for my stepdad. But from what I'm hearing, it's very mixed. Everyone's confused. Like, I heard the beaches are opening tomorrow, but then I also heard LA is shutting down for 3 more months. And then I heard that restaurants were opening, but then I also saw in the news this morning that our health department says, if you open, you will lose your liquor license. Like, I'm like, what? Everyone is so confused. The amount of posts from people, they're like, so am I going to work this weekend or am I staying home? I feel bad for everyone out there trying to figure it out. I mean, we're fortunate. I stay home, and my boyfriend, his work is, they're fine. They're figuring out, their hours are cut and stuff, but they're fine. They have a job. Like, they know what they're doing. They're out in the oil fields. Like, they're fine. And so I'm thinking of all of you guys, because I know that the world is a lot different everywhere that you are and everything you're experiencing, and there's so much confusion, and just hope you all stay safe. And I just remind you to remember one thing. This is something I use with my kids all the time. When you have a heartbreak or you're upset about something, whether or not how you feel about this virus, what you think about it, real, fake, not, okay? I do not care. I don't even know what I feel. I just know I have someone extremely vulnerable that I'm taking care of, and so I can't risk it. But no matter what, I want you to remember something. This is temporary, okay? This is temporary. It will go away. It cannot be permanent, and it cannot be forever. Just like a heartbreak and just like everything else we experience in life, this is temporary, okay? Remember, we have bigger things to deal with, like missing children, murdered children, missing people. There are people dealing with a lot worse in this world than being inconvenienced, okay? Just remember, please try to remember that. Remember your heart, and just remember what's important at the end of the day. I love you guys, and I'm going to leave you with that. So at the end of my videos, I always say this: hug your babies and hug your lives. I always see it wrong. Hug your babies and hug your loves. Life is precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video.